Crystal Guijarro is a mother of 2 young girls. She tells me as a mother, you know when something is wrong with your child, which is why she was so frustrated when her youngest daughter was sick and doctors kept sending them home. And when her daughter was finally diagnosed, she says something that could have taken a few days in a hospital turned into 4 months.
I was lost because I was like, well, like my child is helpless, you know, like she's helpless and like, what can I do? I see my daughter there, I think she's gonna die, like no one's coming to tell me anything.
On December 30th, 2021, Crystal Guijarro took her 3-year-old daughter Layla to a local hospital.
I told them her symptoms. She just started with some mild symptoms like a fever, and then she started throwing up and not wanting to eat. So I took her and they told me, they just like examined her and they told me, it's just a virus, norovirus. That's the diagnosis they gave me.
But she says days passed, and after attempting to treat Layla for the virus, she got worse.
My daughter was no longer walking. She was in aching pain. She was not eating or drinking anymore. High fever, very pale. At this point, I was like, this is not a virus.
Then, Guijarro took her daughter to a different emergency room in town.
I went in, and little did I know that my nightmare started that day.
Once the hospital ran tests, they gave her a different diagnosis.
After 12 hours, a doctor comes in, and he tells me, there's nothing wrong with her, Mom. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, look at her. Like, she's not getting up. She has high fever. And this doctor, he tells me, it's just constipation.
Guijarro says she and her husband were still not sure constipation was the only thing wrong with their daughter. So she says they questioned the doctor.
I told him, are you sure it's not her appendix? And he was like, no. He's like, I'm telling you, it's constipation. He's like, nowhere it shows it's her appendix. So he dismissed that right away.
Then once again, the family went home, this time treating Layla for constipation.
This time we noticed her stomach was already distended. It was very bad. We got concerned. I took her a shower and I was like, she needs a suppository. So I did the suppository. But we noticed it wasn't that. We noticed there was something more. She started vomiting.
Again, on January 5th, Guijarro took Layla back to the first hospital, where she says she was finally able to get answers about what was going on.
She confirmed that it was ruptured appendicitis.
But she couldn't be treated there. She says the doctors told her they had to wait until there was an ambulance available because they were short-staffed.
It wasn't until the next day that there was an available ambulance in the morning. At that time, it was like a 4-hour drive for us.
When they finally arrived at the Children's Hospital, she says their problems were far from solved.
Because of this doctor's mistakes, Layla had a rough 4 months in the hospital because she had a lot more complications.
Guijarro says it first started when it took longer to remove Layla's appendix.
They couldn't remove the appendix right away. They said it was too dangerous, that they don't do that. They have to first use antibiotics and get it controlled, and then later go back. Once she stabilized, go back to do the surgery.
Guijarro telling me this time in the hospital later led to doctors saying her daughter had COVID, multi-system inflammatory syndrome, also known as MIS-C, and sepsis.
She had the bile in her stomach, so she had tubes through her mouth, through her nose, the PICC line, they had to put a PICC line, and the drainage.
Since Layla had to be treated away from Bakersfield, Guijarro says that put an extra strain on family finances.
He had nowhere to sleep. We would sleep sometimes in the car, like when he would go visit, because he had to go back to work because bills don't wait. And that's what I noticed, that sitting in a hospital bed, besides going through what you're going through, you have a life that doesn't wait. Your bills don't wait. Your jobs don't wait.
Adding she wasn't able to work during that time, so her husband was the only source of income. Outside of finances,
I had to deal with my child, thinking that I didn't love her, because of everything they did to her.
The effects of being in the hospital are still felt by Layla now, nearly a year and a half later.
She's traumatized from it. The first nights when we were finally home after surgery, she would cry, wake up at nighttime.
While it's still an uphill battle for their family, Guijarro knows they are lucky.
Fortunately, not a lot of people get the opportunity to live from one mistake like this.
Layla is turning 5 soon, and as for her health, she's doing much better.
She's healed now. She's running. She's playing soccer with her sister. Her sister's in track, so she goes and cheers her sister, like, go Delilah, go. And it's good. It feels good. It honestly does.
Guijarro now wants to encourage all parents to advocate for their children, because Guijarro says if she were not insistent, the outcome would have been very different.
My child's life was in his hands, and my child almost lost her life due to this careless doctor. Imagine if I would have waited like the doctor told me. She's like, Mama, you did a good choice by bringing her in. She's like, you would have waited one more day, you will not have your child here.
Guijarro says they have reached out to the California Department of Public Health but have not taken any legal action yet. They're just focusing on making sure both of their daughters stay healthy.